What is going on, Retro Freaks? Did you know that we hate emulation?
Yeah.
That's the narrative that's out there. Maybe we are partially to blame for that, but Kratos doesn't hate emulation.
Yeah, we don't hate it.
No, but there are some positives to emulation, and I want to talk about today are 3 things we do like about emulation.
Yes, so a couple weeks ago we did a video talking kind of a lot of crap about emulation, but we did admit in that video that we do use emulation and we do use it. We just prefer physical media and we prefer the authenticity of playing physical media. But emulation does have its pros, does have its positives. And we're going to talk about 3 things. The first one that I want to talk about today is kind of the financial aspect of emulation. Is first off that it's free. You get access to every game and you kind of get to try it before you buy it. It's kind of like going to a lot and test driving a car and being like, does it run well? Do I like this style of game? Do I like doing this? Before dropping money on an expensive game. Or maybe if it's not expensive, maybe it's $20, but what if you don't like it? That's still $20.
Yeah, I use it in that realm a lot, I would say. Before I'm going to drop big boy money on a game, I will test drive it. I think you put it just perfectly. I think it's a great option to try stuff. And then if there's a game that's just way too far out there, you're just never going to spend that on it.
Yeah, what's that game on PS2, Roses or whatever?
Yeah, Rule of Rose.
Rule of Rose, yeah. So we have a modded PS2, which we talked about in that video, but I will never buy Rule of Rose, but this gives you an option to be able to play that game. Or if you want to go through and play the old school Silent Hill games, those games are getting expensive. Emulation's probably a good route because you can do it for free, So
and I will say one of my gripes with emulation is kind of the input lag and the scenarios like that. But in some of those type of games, whether it's an RPG or a survival horror, input lag isn't as big of a deal. You don't notice it as much because it's not a timing based, skill based. Game.
It's not like you're fighting Mike Tyson or you're doing a platformer or you're running and gunning. No, those are slower games, so the input lag doesn't really matter. I just think it's a great way to kind of test the waters before jumping into physical media. Now moving on to the next point, why we like emulation, and that's obviously for preservation.
Yeah.
Preservation is super key for video games, and we did a video, I don't know, probably 6 months ago, talking about how a lot of old video games are gone forever.
Yeah, I think this is another great point, and I think this is another great aspect or asset that emulation provides. I think of games that have disappeared, whether they've been delisted or there's no way to get them physically.
They're gone.
Like the WiiWare games.
Yep, they're gone.
Contra Rebirth, Gradius Rebirth, Castlevania Rebirth. If it wasn't for emulation and the preservation of those folks that work on that stuff, those games, you wouldn't be able to play them unless you got lucky and found an old Wii that they were pre-installed on.
Some demos like PT, those are gone forever. And what's really cool is there are companies that are kind of resurrecting old games. Like Scott Pilgrim, for the longest time, that game was gone forever. But then a company re-released it. Not a big fan of that game, but it's still cool that it's available, that you can play it physically. So I think it's a great option to be like, oh wow, this game was potentially gone forever, but now I can access it. Now I can actually try out the WiiWare games, because maybe I wasn't into the Wii when it came out, Yep. So it is super nice because cartridges can fail, discs can get disc rot, so it is nice to be like, okay, my copy of this game did get ruined, maybe it got caught in a fire, or I beat it with a baseball bat or something. Something happened to it, but I can still emulate it and still be able to play it and still be able to experience the art piece that it is, you know?
My favorite, hands down, reason for emulation and the scene that they have created is the hacks and the mods that they do.
Yes.
And I in particular love the fact that you can get Tecmo Super Bowl on a cartridge or not, or you can play it on your computer
or you can
with modern rosters.
That's so cool, dude.
The wrestling mods and hacks.
Yes, we just got
Legends, WrestleMania 10.
We just got a few N64 wrestling games on the cartridge that are fully modded. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And then there's so many there. I mean, dude, modding and hacks and all this stuff is a whole nother subgenre of video games.
Oh yeah.
Which I don't know anything about. I'm slowly dipping my toes into.
Yeah.
But all the Mario games and all this other stuff where it's like, dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool that somebody was able to go into the coding of a video game and figure out how to hack it and make it different, or make it play different, or look different, or give it
And I don't know why. I like Journey to Silius. I like it. I love the Terminator version because it was supposed to be a Terminator game that somebody put a hack out of, and it is a Terminator game. It's really, really cool.
I feel like
that they can do that.
Yeah, I feel like the hack and ROM scene is its own scene, and you can go down a massive rabbit hole. And there's so many. A few months ago, we got Mario Kart on the N64, but it's the serial killers.
Yeah.
And it's like Jason and Freddy and Chucky driving Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Like, that is stupid.
Yeah.
But it's fun. Like, that is so awesome.
And there's the 007 one where you're Mario characters.
Yeah,
which is like
GoldenEye.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I love the ROMs on N64. That's kind of fun. But I mean, people are doing it for NES, Super Nintendo. Yeah. It's its own subgenre of video games. That's so cool, and that's something that will always be going on because people are like, "Oh, I love this game. How can I maybe not improve it, but how can I make it different or make it fun?" You know.
Well, and that type of stuff to me gives games longevity and new
100%,
life.
yeah.
Like, you know, we had played Mario Kart 64 so much that it's just kind of like, man, we've just played the hell out of it. But it is really fun to play the one as the Simpsons characters or the horror movie. The
Simpsons
people.
One is hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, you're throwing knives at people instead of shells. That type of stuff to me is why I'm glad that it's around and why I think both can exist.
Yes.
That doesn't take away from the fact that I do prefer playing original games on original hardware.
I mean, that's why a lot of the ROMs and hacks that we get on cartridges.
Yeah.
So we're still playing on an N64, on a Tube TV with the real controller. I mean, you can obviously play those ROMs and hacks on the PC and all this stuff, and that's still cool, but we're still getting the authenticity, but it's emulation.
Yeah.
I know we crapped on emulation a ton in that video when we talked about it, but we do both. And there is perks to both sides. I just think it can coexist, like you mentioned. Like, you can do both and still enjoy it. I think it's great. Emulation's fantastic just to play video games.
Yeah.
Just to consume video games.
I think it's just the important line in the sand that I wish people would understand, because we are passionate, we are physical collectors, we
100%.
love playing the original stuff. That's what we prefer. That doesn't mean it's the end-all, be-all. It doesn't mean we hate the other side. It doesn't mean we dislike gamers that emulate.
No.
There are some positive things out there. We did want to highlight those. It's going to be a short video, but we wanted to talk about those things because I think some of our other topics have made people have the assumption that we are just anti-emulation.
Yeah,
that's not the case.
I, in particular, went kind of hard on that video, and but I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And people got really heated in the comments, which I love when people get upset. But it's video games.
Yeah.
So, and people prefer different things, and that's totally fine. But we do both, and it's like, I've talked about it a ton of times on the channel before, but it's like music. Mm-hmm. I use Spotify daily. But if I really want to enjoy music, I'm going to put on a vinyl record.
Yeah.
I'm going to put on the experience and do it. But that doesn't stop me from listening to music on Spotify when I'm in the shower, or background music or when I'm at work, or like all this stuff. Like, you can do both and enjoy both. Like,
and I bet you've even used Spotify as a try before you buy type of thing.
100%, where I'm like, dude, I really love this album.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to buy it on vinyl. Now I'm going to own it, dude.
Yeah.
So emulation does have its perks.
I think it's just a cool time to be a gamer.
Yeah, you have
the
access
hobby, the access, and you can do it your way, how you want to do it. Our preferred way is the original thing, but I sure am glad that little thing, emulation, is out there and exists.
Yes. Now, before we go, beer reviews are back, and this is a weird one.
Yeah. Peanut butter pickle tickle sour
by Barntown. So we've done a lot of Barntown beers on the channel. They're from Des Moines, Iowa, which is where we're from. They make amazing sours. Like a chocolate cheesecake tastes like that. But then they make stuff like this. Peanut butter pickle beer. It tastes like what it is.
Yeah.
This is my thought in my head, and this is going to sound disgusting. This tastes like peanut butter Captain Crunch. You know, like that peanut butter Captain Crunch. But instead of milk, it's pickle juice. That's what it tastes like.
I can't argue.
And it's not... That sounds disgusting. And this kind of is gross. But it's not bad. Like, it is what it is.
It's just weird.
It's weird. But... I do enjoy, like, I make deli sandwiches a lot, and I do like I usually use mayonnaise, but sometimes I'll put peanut butter on one slice, and then mayonnaise, and I'll put pickles in there, and I do like the taste of that peanut butter and the pickle.
Yeah.
I will never drink this again. Yeah. It's not a good beer,
but it tastes like what it says.
It's doing what it...
Yeah.
Like, the execution is perfect.
Yes, it is.
But I'm just... Why? Why did they do this? This is a variant of the regular pickle beer, which is just a pickle tickle, which I don't know why you would want a pickle beer to begin with.
Yeah.
I know people do like picklebacks for like whiskey shots and stuff like that, but and then it's see-through. I don't know.
It's unique.
It's interesting.
I gotta give it a very high score because it is what it says.
It is what it is.
And I won't buy it again, but that's not saying it's poor execution. It's definitely the most unique sour I've ever had.
Yeah, and like the nose. I don't know.
That's what it smells like. It kind of makes my jaw clench.
Yeah, I keep taking sips of it, and it's like, man, I'm eating peanut butter Captain Crunch mixed with pickle juice.
Yeah. Anyway.
And it is what it is.
That's what we got. We don't hate emulation. We just want to talk about the reasons we actually like emulation. We do prefer the real thing, though. We appreciate you tuning in and subscribing to the channel, and a special shout out to our special guest, Lamar. We'll catch you on the very next episode of the one and only Gaming Off the Grid.